Hello, friends, and happy Spooky Friday. How is everyone doing this evening? You can see I'm fully prepared for a night of spookiness. I even put on a black t-shirt to sort of fit in with the mood. That's an inside joke for me because I have three colors of t-shirt. I've got gray, dark gray, and black. So odds are you've seen this t-shirt before. Anyway, happy Friday. Welcome to the Halloween Spooktacular, as I decided to call it. And you'll notice that this is not a green screen behind me. This is an actual backdrop. I spare no expense for you guys. And I tell you that not because I want you to be impressed by the fact that I hung a backdrop up, but because there's an excellent chance I'm going to knock this down over the next 90 minutes and you'll just see the old set behind it. So, yeah, there we go. Anyway, let's... Oh, and by the way, on a bookshop in the Matches Memorial Friday Sabanelli, as is the tradition, and boy, it's quite a tradition this time of year because this was a wonderful time of year to sit back and watch old matches regale us with stories of Halloween. So let's see who we got hanging out so far tonight. Looks like we got a full house, actually. We've got Mushroom Leg, Pondering with Pepe's Pipes, David's Bookshop, Cypress Piper. Great to see you guys. There's Patrick Grant, Tiago, Jeffrey Feinberg, Ben Smokes Pipes. Good evening, sir. James Steitel, Sleepy Piper Todd, Flint Hill Briar, Steve. Steve's got some Bankside and a Rossi Syrah. Very nice. Richie B. That was me playing the organ, Richie. No, it wasn't. No, it was not. Let's see. And Ben Smokes Pipes said he had some wind sail on a cob today, and it was so sweet. Sounds very nice there, Ben. There's Bona Piper. Good to see you, Christian. I am the Phantom Mushroom Leg. Yes, indeed. Michael Case, happy early Halloween indeed. Yes, spooky night is in the works, because you can see I got the spooky scenery and everything. Yeah, it's quite spooky. There's Signal Man Tony from Rhode Island and Ahmed Salman. Good to see you folks. The Pipe Hunter, happy Friday to you. He's got some Briar Fox in his 7LA673. Richie B had Haunted Bookshop and a cob earlier, plus a Punch Knuckle Buster. Nice. Mark in Rhode Island. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Doug Owen. Always good to see Doug. There's Phil Rivera. Spooky indeed, Phil. Gary Edminster. My, we got a full house tonight. I really feel like I should do something special. Unfortunately, this is the spookiness. We're just going to talk about Gilligan's Island for the next 90 minutes. The occasional Clay Piper, Lurker, Troy, and George Tiedemann. I think we are caught up. Happy Spooky Friday indeed, George. Great to see you guys. Thank you for coming out and joining me tonight. It's a little early for Halloween, but this is the last Friday that we will have before Halloween, unless I've miscalculated. I don't care. We're doing it anyway. And I do have a little something special planned if we get to it. We'll see how the night goes, but I was going to try to do a movie, and then I realized I just don't have the time to sort it. It just wasn't going to happen. And I was going to try to do trivia, but same problem. And I got issues with doing trivia on YouTube that I've talked about before. So kind of settled on this. Nobody got in touch with me about ghost stories, so we don't have any ghost stories lined up. I do have something I might read. It's kind of spooky. We'll just see how it goes. Lurker Troy's got 1793 Flake in his 7LA616 with black coffee. Nice. There's Critics View. Hello. Gary Edminster says it's beer time. The Pipe Hunter wants a 3-hour stream. oh, because of the Gilligan's Island reference. Gotcha. And I didn't want to get too crazy. I do have lighting behind the drop here, which you wouldn't know that. But yeah, it's lit from behind. And so there's also an excellent chance that it will catch fire during the night. No, it's an LED light. It's quite safe. Jimmy 513, hello. All is well here, sir. Hope all is well with you. August is early, yes. Mark's one of those early Halloween celebrators. John's Pipe Journey, hello. Lots of folks tonight. Lots of new folks, it seems, which is great to see you, or at least folks I don't see every week. Not that I mind seeing folks every week. Thank goodness. Cafe Bustelo out of the machine with half and half. Sounds wonderful, Richie. So I got a beverage for tonight. So I went to the beer distributor on my way home from work, and I actually picked up a 4-pack of Pumpkin King Ale. Did you hear that, Phil? Pumpkin King Ale. And I was going to buy it just because I know how much Phil would enjoy watching me drink it. And I was gagging at the thought. And then I came across Devil's Reach. Devil's Reach is a Belgian-style ale. And I thought, that's much more up my alley. So we're going to be drinking Cape May Brewing Company's Devil's Reach. Even got a scary Cthulhu-like octopus on there. So yeah, that you can't get more Halloweeny than that unless you actually get a pumpkin beer, and I couldn't do that. Yeah, Phil, I know they can get hot. I know. And no, I haven't put my tongue on one, but I've felt the heat off of them. Doug, I just last week I think watched Fiend Without a Face. I love that movie. Highland Duncan, hello to you, sir. Jack Pumpkin Richie? I'm not sure. I don't remember a Halloween Christmas movie. Now, I also got out my special Halloween mug that you only see once a year here. Very steampunky, Halloweeny. My wife bought this for me because my wife, for some reason, decides to encourage my hobbies. She'll eventually regret that. And the problem is that I was confusing this with my Christmas mug, which holds 2 beers. So I brought 2 beers down with me. This is probably only going to hold 1, but I've taken them out of the fridge, and I don't think you can put them back in. So we might just have to drink both of them tonight. No, it was not Eyes Without a Face, Richie B. It was Fiend Without a Face. But I got to admit, I hear that song playing every time I think of the title. Never fed the dogs pumpkin, Michael, that I can recall. I mean, they certainly have had like pumpkin pie scraps and things like that, but I don't think I ever like intentionally fed them pumpkin. We did feed them pineapple for a while, crushed pineapple, just a spoonful in their food because it apparently discourages them from the lovely habit of recycling, if you get my drift. But I don't think it made a difference, so we stopped doing that. Anyway, let's get one of these Cape May Brewing Company Devil Reach Belgian style ales going, and we'll see how this goes. You've been putting maple syrup in your whiskey, Tom? I like my whiskey to be whiskey flavored. Heck, I'm not even going to get a can into this. I poured it so poorly. Well, what are you going to do? Yes, that was a mouthful of pure foam. Oh, that's good. That's really good. It's very crisp and malty, not over hopped. We got more folks coming in. Steph and Skip, how you doing? Steph and/or Skip, great to see you. Pipe Appeal, good evening to you. Steph likes the spooky background. Thank you. I spared no expense. Flint Hill's got some Carter Hall in his bear mirror. Nice. Michael. Hey, it saves you on Halloween costumes, right? Would I rather be a vampire or a werewolf? Asked Mushroom Leg. I think vampires got the better deal. That's an excellent point, Phil. I'm much more likely to put whiskey in my maple syrup than I am to put maple syrup in my whiskey. All right, we got both Steph and Skip. Fantastic. Happy to have you guys. Tamper Jim, how you doing, Jim? In a video posted last week, Jeremy Reeves discussed Autumn Evening, saying they infuse the Virginia Cavendish with maple, caramel, scotch, and vanilla. Really? I don't know what's not to like. I love Autumn Evening. Gary is everyone else. And the Pipe Hunter is having his regular Pure Leak unsweet tea. Sorry, Pipe Hunter. I know you meant Pure Leaf. But Pure Leak is kind of funny. And yes, Cypress Piper, it is good. I've had the pure leaf. And I tend to drink my iced tea without any sweetener. Just got used to it that way, and I'm not really a big guy for sweet stuff. All right, we got one can in. Yay. Whiskey pancakes would be good, Paul. Flint Hills just opened a Lugine chocolate milk stout from Odell Brewing Company, and it's really good stuff. I'll keep an eye out for that. I do like the chocolate stouts. And soon it will be time for me to buy my favorite chocolate peanut butter stout, which I buy every Christmas season. There's Perique Piper Skip. How you doing, Skip? All right, Pepe. So you made it to Boswell's. Got tobacco, pipes, accessory, 2 pipes, and 3 cigars. Nice haul. Sir Zenith, keeping perfectly well here, my friend. Bob's Chocolate Flake at a Peterson. Sounds wonderful. And Phil's got a Bohemia Pilsner. Nice stuff. You did tell us, Steph. You did. And you did not lie. Skip is in the house, as the kids say. The oatmeal stouts are good, Phil. Yeah, I like them too. Gordy, drinking Bud Select 55. Good deal. Good deal, Gordy. I always, so I was reading the complete letters of C.S. Lewis. And these were written very early on in his life, prior to his conversion to Christianity. So he was an atheist at the time. And it's really interesting to read these. I'm sorry, not letters, diary. It was his diary. And it's really interesting just to see how his thought was developing over time. So it starts when he's quite young. And some of these things were written when he was living in, I believe he was living in Ireland with his father prior to the war. I think that's true. And I was struck by the number of times he says things like, I had to leave so quickly that I hadn't even had time for my breakfast beer. And I thought, my goodness, breakfast beer, that's an interesting thought. But then you think of things like oatmeal stout and like, hey, why not? James Steidle, you're not the only one. A surprising number of people do not like autumn evening. And it's funny to me because I don't like aromatics, like almost across the board. There's 2 or 3 that I can stand, and autumn evening is one of them. And I had just always assumed that everybody would like it then. And yet there are people that just, they can't taste the maple. They say it tastes ashy. So it just goes to show you there's no way that we could ever all agree on one tobacco, which is a beautiful thing. Iron Rails and Pipe Dreams, are you out there? Asked Jeffrey Feinberg. Haven't seen old, it's Andy, right? I think it's Andy. Haven't seen him in the live stream for quite a while. Oh, that's not good, Phil. Taxes must be through the roof in Oregon then. Well, we'll just have to ship in some beer for you, buddy. Good point, Cypress Piper. They did not have many imperial stouts in Lewis's day. Paragon Piper, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Lurker Troy doesn't like autumn evening. Hey, it's fine. Everybody's got things they want, things they like, and things they don't. It was a way to purify water, Cypress Piper. That's a good point. Yeah, you knew that the The water had been boiled, so. When a Piper says haunted evening, you must mean autumn evening. It's one of those blends that not consistently tasting the same from bowl to bowl. Huh. Well, I've only ever smoked it in cobs, so maybe I just don't have enough of an experience with that. Yeah, James, I've heard a lot of people say that about the cigarette taste. One guy that really hates it is our buddy Everett Young, the urban hermit or the suburban hermit or whatever the heck he goes by these days. Um, he despises the stuff. Pipe Punter's been smoking Warped Scarecrow and likes it. Cool. No need to apologize, Bona Piper. I translate. Oh, it's not a tax thing. It's because it's, oh, interesting, Phil. Skip, I'm pretty close to agreeing with you there. I would actually say Crooner is the best blend ever, but my wife won't let me smoke Crooner. She will let me smoke Gentleman Caller. So, yeah, beer is basically bread, Michael. I indeed. I agree. I indeed. Oh boy, I haven't even been halfway through that beer. Gordy had a cigar today. I should have had a cigar today, to be honest with you, Gordy. I could have used one. Whiskey makes a great breath freshener and pump. Fantastic. Haunted Evening. There you go, Richie. I've tried it. I don't recommend it. Yes, Paragon Piper, but I believe it's sterile. Urine is sterile. Unless there's an infection, and then it's not, obviously. Ian Haywood smoked a bowl of several English mixtures he combined in the same jar. And I bet it tasted like an English. You know, Pipe Hunter, Deer Tongue is one of those polarizing things. There's people that love it and people that just can't do it. And that's fine. Again, that's one of the things I really love about this hobby, lifestyle, whatever you want to call it. You know, nobody's ever going to agree on everything, and you know, that's beautiful. That gives us something to talk about. Is that where that phrase came from, Paragon? So let me know what you guys think. We're not going to do it for a bit. We'll wait until we get to maybe quarter to 9 or so local time. But if you're up for it, I will read you a story. I got one all picked out. I don't have to do it, but if you want to do something spooky and Halloweeny, I do have a story to read. And hey, by then I might be onto the second beer, so it might be funny. You know, Skip, I hate it when that happens. I tell Lisa all the time, why did you let me eat that thing? Why did you let me drink that thing? And, you know, the sad thing is she never seems to feel any remorse about it. Eileen's Haunted Bookshop Dream is the best. So you've actually done it, Steph. That's pretty cool. I have to admit, I've not had Eileen's Dream, but I have had the that's from the same company that makes those little cigars that are flavored. I can't think of the name of the company now. It'll come to me. But I've had an Eileen's Dream cigar that I think Killed It Piper Steve, or Bear Wolf and Miss Kathy sent to me. And I actually liked it. I thought the flavor on that was quite nice. Patrick wants me to go ahead and do the reading, and somebody's having flashbacks to Romper Room. Phil's feeling flashbacks to Romper Room. Okay, well, Phil, be nice or I'll put you in the corner. I don't remember. The only thing I remember about Romper Room is that spooky thing where she looked through the mirror and said my name, which scared the heck out of me. Ah, so the nachos was his idea. Okay. Halloweenies with kraut. There you go, Yardism. Good to see you, Chad. So, recommendation from Bona Piper, looking for a good American mild aromatic. Consider C&D Black Gold Maple or Sutliff Vanilla Custard. Can't go wrong with either. I'm pretty certain I've had the Black Gold Maple, Christian, and unfortunately it's one of those blends that to me is very chemical, but I got this weird palate where I taste the additives and not the flavor that's intended, so other people would probably love it. 3 years, but she did see you, right? She eventually saw everybody. I could read The Raven as Vincent Price, Mark. I was thinking about going a little bit further afield, though. The Raven's kind of been overdone. CAO, was that it, Patrick? I thought it was the same. No, did CAO make Eileen's Dream? I thought it was Drew Estate. I could be wrong. Doug says CAO as well. Okay. 2-1 against, so I guess I'm wrong. I would love to read The Haunted Bookshop, but it would take me several live streams to get through that. Ron Hardcrackers. Burned his socks in welding school. My goodness. Does anyone know the old I Believe in Mary Worth Halloween game? Asks Michael Case. I do not know that. Wasn't Mary Worth a comic strip? Reruns of HR Puffin stuff. There you go. Poem, I don't think there's anything scarier than reading those answers. So, no. Okay, CAO does make Eileen's Dream. I was completely wrong. Thank you, Patrick. Witchy poo cackle mushroom leg. Ah, you're gonna get us in trouble. That's an excellent point, Paragon Piper. If I just sang the alphabet song, all the books would be in there, indeed. Ah, Sally Forth is what I'm thinking of. Okay, Richie. Yes, you're right. Mark and Rhode Island, I understand they were proud of their lawns. Oh, goodness. You guys are going to drag me into politics. Cask of Amontillado. That's a good one, Flint Hill. I cannot remember the name of the protagonist in that, but it's the 1,000 Injuries of whatever his name was. I had borne as best I can. Who was the guy that was walled up in the Cask of Amontillado? Fortunata? The 1,000 Injuries of Fortunata I had borne as best I can. It may not have been Fortunato. Come downstairs, I can show you my tobacco cellar. You're right, Phil. It is almost impossible. It really is. And I seriously thought this morning about doing a video about politics, and I decided against it. But, there's some things that just really have me steamed right now. And I don't want to get into them. I really don't, because this isn't about that. But I just get so mad when people say things to me that they haven't thought about. And, it's so easy to just say, well, can you give me one example of when that actually happened? And yeah, they can't. So, the Smooth Piper, how you doing, Peter? Good to see you. It was Fortunato. Okay. Montresori was the guy that did the bricking, and Fortunato was the guy that got bricked, right? I have seen the Changeling, Alamo Piper. What a great that's one of those movies that is scary on a level that I think modern horror movies just can't achieve. It wasn't gore and slashing and everything else, but man, that was a scary movie. Yornik, hello, my friend. Good to see you. Ah, interesting, Michael. Okay, so the Mary Worth thing, you say it 5 times and you turn around and you're supposed to see the ghost. When I was a kid, there was a similar story, and it was Bloody Mary that you would say. It wasn't Mary Worth, but Bloody Mary. Very interesting. Big Country Briar, how you doing, Cole? Yes, CaneRod's Crypt. I should have called it that instead of Spookapalooza or whatever I called it. Why are mirrors supernatural in the... That's an interesting question, Mushroom Leg. There's something about it where we appear to be looking into another world. Another world that we're in, but we don't realize we're in. Paul Johnson, hello. Enjoying a pipe full of luxury bullseye flake in his Friday mirror. Very nice. Phil, I hope you're right about that people don't believe things anymore unless they can verify it themselves. And, all the indications right now are that for some reason, we seem to be shifting back to common sense and logic. I hope that's true. I really hope that's true. Abbott and Costello are wonderful, Arthur Troy. Ron Hardcracker, smoking haunted bookshop in a Mastro de Paja red collection black blasted billiard that looks like a Dracula, and drinking a Shiner lemonade shandy that was hiding in the back of the refrigerator. Good for you, Ron. And I think you wrote that just to challenge me, didn't you? I don't remember what exactly had to be said. I never really tried to do it because I was scared. Your legend becomes more relevant when you turn 21? Well, Richie B, my legend's been relevant for a long time. Glenn Hill really likes Alan Parsons Project Tales of Mystery and Imagination. Edgar Allan Poe. Not a big Alan Parsons Project fan. Other than, I like their music. I just don't know their albums and stuff. But I remember Eye in the Sky being a pretty good song. Silver has magical properties, says Paragon Piper. Yeah, good point. Tying into the mirrors. Alamo Piper wants to know if I know La Llorona. Is that anything like La Sharona? My Sharona? I should have said My Sharona, sorry. Brian Dawkins, I'm seeing it in the polls. I'm seeing it in the polls, and I'm seeing it in some of the man on the street type interviews, but maybe I'm being overly optimistic. My Bologna, yes. Good old Weird Al. You can't see your true self in a mirror, Michael Case, and you'll never know what you look like with your eyes closed. Unless, of course, you take a picture, but yeah. Iran is being spanked right now? I hope so, Gary. Mirrors let you see what you don't want to see yourself. Well put, Palm. Nobody's trying to collect you, huh, Phil? The Legend of Bloody Marys. Gotcha, Richie. Gotcha. Hey, Richie, I owe you an email, by the way. Sorry I haven't been able to get back to you, but nice job, and I'll send you some notes later. Yeah, speaking of getting an old collector item repaired, I got my car back on Saturday after I got the parking brake fixed, and you know it's the local shop, and I know these guys pretty well, and they told me I needed tires, which annoys me because I've just been through inspection and I haven't driven it since the inspection because it's been in the shop all this time. But yeah, I guess I need tires now. Anyway, I said, yeah, it's getting to the point where putting money into it probably isn't such a good idea. It's a 2015, you know. And both the mechanics there turned around and said, "Oh no, that car's got plenty of life left in it." And I walked out feeling pretty good about that. I thought, you know, my decision to do that was a smart decision, and I'm driving home. And by the time I got home, I thought, are they just saying that because they know it's going to be more business for them? I don't know. But the car is all good. It's running like a top, happy as could be. I agree with you, Richie. They are solid. I've loved that car for, you know, since 2015. I'm not going to do the math, but uh, because I can't right now. It's a great car. It's a Hyundai Elantra Touring, so it's got the hatchback, and I can put all my fishing stuff in there. I could even put the seat down and sleep in it if I need to. It's perfect for me, and I'm not going to find anything like that with a standard transmission. So anyway, it's done. Tobacco Pipes International. How you doing, Mark? Good to see you. Oh, that is good news on the Trooper, Phil. Congrats on that. Yornik says he watched Twilight of the Gods animated mini show. It was good, bloody but good. Cool. Absolutely, Mike. Absolutely, Mark. If evil is defeated, we will drinks are on the house of the Copper Pig all day, actually, all day. But come on down to the Copper Pig. You can sit out on the back deck if the weather's nice, but you can smoke inside anyway, for some reason. There you go, Christian. Hondas are another one that'll run forever if you take care of them. I miss carburetors, Richie. I really do. Mileage is fairly low for 2015, Brian. I think I'm about 120. Corollas are another great example. Cypress. You know, for some reason, I've always shied away from Japanese cars. Mostly because of that Nissan I talked about last week that my wife had. I hated that car. I hated that car so much. And I don't know why. It wasn't a bad car. It just... I had to drive it in Atlanta without air conditioning right after I had bought a 95, 94 maybe Ford Ranger. Beautiful truck with air conditioning and everything. I let my wife drive it because it had air conditioning, and I just hated the fact that I had to drive this little piece of crap. Uh, Pardon my French. Alamo Piper, that sounds like a great story. Vengeful ghost in Mexican folklore who is said to roam near bodies of water, mourning her children, whom she drowned in a jealous rage after discovering her husband was unfaithful to her. Wow. Big Country Briars watching Adam Sandler's Hubie Halloween with the kids and laughing his something off. Yep. Good point, Christian. You always have to think of the 2015s plus or minus. Flint Hill, you mean fuel injection? You've been generally happy with fuel injection? I mean, everybody's happy with fuel ignition, right? But I've been generally happy with it too. It's just something I don't understand and I can't tinker with. And that's really a big deal for me. I've been thinking about, I'll give you guys a little insight into how crazy I am. So I have another YouTube channel that nobody knows about because there's nothing on it, but I started this Old Tools Instagram page and decided to grab a YouTube channel by the same name. And I've been thinking, what am I going to do with this? Because at the time I thought maybe I'd do some woodworking videos or something and maybe cross post to this channel, and then maybe some of you guys would be interested and, just try to build it. But I never got around to it. And I thought, well, maybe I could do some old tool restoration type stuff. And the reason I'm bringing this up is if I get an old, and I'm not talking about like a hand plane, I'm talking about like an old grinder or a jigsaw or something like that. The first thing I like to do is take the thing apart completely and then fix what I can fix, clean it, and put it back together. And the reason I like doing that is then I know it inside and out. I know everything about that tool. And if it breaks, I know why it breaks, and I know how to fix it, or if it's worth fixing even. And I kind of feel the same about cars, although I don't go through that process with cars, obviously. I just want to know what's going on in there. I want to be able to notice a change or notice something going wrong and be able to say, oh, I know what that is. And I can't do that with fuel injection. It's just too different. It's too foreign to me. Bela will come out in the second half, Tiago, as soon as I finish up with this guy. The nut behind the wheel, I know, Phil, and that's the problem with my car for sure. Watching Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, and very underrated. Okay. I've been thinking, last year I watched Halloween on Halloween. And I've been thinking, should I continue that tradition and watch another Halloween? Or should I branch out and watch Friday the 13th? So I haven't seen either of those movies since I was a young sprout. And I have a bad impression of them just because I always think of them as slasher, blood, and gore type movies. When I watched Halloween, I was actually quite surprised at how unscary it was. I need to put my glasses on for this one. That's not helping me. Matoka? Sorry, I cannot pronounce that Cyrillic character in the middle there, but hello, welcome, good to see you. Relax Piper and Hobbies. I don't think I said hello to you either. Good to see you. It's impossible to fix the driver sometimes, Cypress. They do get huge views, Phil, and that's not really what I'm interested in, but it would be a great way to kind of document the process and because sometimes you put things back together and you go, oh, what's this part? I have seen the Scottish channel, Mark, and it's fascinating. You know, I watched that. Another one that I've watched a lot, I'm really addicted to, is Hand Tool Rescue. That guy is incredible. He's hilarious and he does such nice work. And yeah, I know I can understand fuel injection, Michael. It's just taking the time to do it, and I already understand carburetors and good Hitchcock film Paragon. That's another great choice indeed. The Car, there's a great one, Richie. Yornik is saying Lovely, Dark, and Deep is a great movie, and he's not just saying that because Georgina Campbell looks a lot like Kate. Well, I might have to watch it just for that, Yornik. Old bolt type fuel injection could be observed by hooking timing light to negative and positive to the injector pulse wire, then view if the spray pattern was correct or just dripping. That is pretty cool, Phil. I remember my dad teaching me about a timing light and just being fascinated by the whole thing. Relax Piper and Hobbies is asking if anyone tried McBaron Stockton. Christian? It's 2 weeks in a row this has come up, and Christian is the guy I know who really loves Stockton. Same here, Smooth Piper. I like the vampire werewolf classics. I mean, I'm really much more a black and white horror movie guy than any of the sort of blood and gore modern horror movies, but I'm trying to branch out. You know, another one I was thinking about rewatching, I don't even know if this fits as horror, but Alien. I haven't seen Alien since it was in the theaters, and I don't have fond memories of it, but maybe it's worth watching because I know a lot of people really love that movie. Tiago says An American Werewolf in London is the best werewolf movie. I disagree, Tiago, although I do think it's an excellent movie. There you go, Yornik. Young Frankenstein is black and white indeed, Mark in Rhode Island. That would not be a bad choice at all. Matoka, tell me if I'm pronouncing that correctly, my friend. Asked, did I try to grow my own tobacco? I did indeed. Did it a couple years ago. Grew some burley, and still haven't done much with it, but it worked out okay. Richie B says Tremors is great. Flint Hill Briar Cat is named after the alien cat. Very cool. Tremors might be a monster movie, Richie B, but I want to make sure everybody understands this. Scanners is a Christmas movie. Oh, they got a creature featured Halloween special, Michael? I'll look forward to that. Original Psycho, that's a great one, Patrick. Getting lots of recommendation. Go eat Thai food before watching Alien. Ah, I like the original Twilight Zones, Jimmy. Absolutely. They did do a good job with the transformations, Peter. Yes, they did. Carnival of Lost Souls were filmed where Perique Piper Skip grew up in Canvas. Very cool. No, Richie, no. It's like Metallica. Okay, gotcha. Metallica. I will say that then. So the LLI. Ah, cool. I learned something. I like learning things. I gotta agree, Doug. That first Wolfman with Lon Chaney was beautiful and well made movie. Just all fell together well. But I can see the attraction to something like American Werewolf in London. Todd Munson, good evening to you, sir. No, Doug, you're not old enough to be the last vampire. Well, Ron, if you're going that far, you might as well make it look like new, huh? Bodega Bay is where they film creature features, Phil. There's maybe Michael can remind me of the name of the mansion that they film it in. I can't remember right now, but it is filmed in Bodega Bay. Silver Bullet was a great werewolf movie. Nosferatu, without a doubt, Patrick is a fantastic movie. If you guys haven't seen Nosferatu, it's only like a 20-30 minute film, and it's available on YouTube. It's black and white silent film, but it was the first vampire film, and my goodness, it's got atmosphere and a creepy factor that you just don't see anymore. It's well worth watching. Definitely a malfunction, TPI. A ceremony, Richie. All right. I think we are at the end of the haunted bookshop in this pipe. So we will put that down. The next pipe, of course, we will be filling with the tobacco of the month, chosen by me, which is, of course, Haunted Bookshop, the official tobacco of October. And we are going to be smoking that in my Halloween pipe. If you didn't see my Sunday video last week, this is Bela. Bela is a Jesse Jones pipe. Beautiful work on the skull band there, and just a fantastic smoker. And I told the story on Sunday of how I got this pipe, if you're interested. Did I empty it? I did not empty it last time. That's embarrassing. There's some ash in there. Okay, clean that. So this pipe sleeps all year in its little coffin. Again, you'll see it on if you watch my last Sunday video. And then I take it out about a week before Halloween. It had to be a little bit early this year just because of timing. And smoke it about once a day, and then clean it out and put it back in its little coffin. And unfortunately, I forgot to bring Igor down with me, so we're not going to have Igor the Tamper. Polter Mansion. There we go. It's just an elaborate set, says Michael Case. Okay, it's not a real place. A remake of Nosferatu? I don't think we need that mushroom leg. Made by the guy who did The Witch and the Lighthouse. Okay. Alamo Piper, I think old Joe Krantz compares very well to Haunted Bookshop. According to Cornell and Deal, it's Haunted Bookshop with a little bit of extra red Virginia. So, to my taste, it's usually a little bit sweeter than Haunted Bookshop. A lot of guys say it's got more of a kick and it's harsher. I don't get that. I think it's sweeter. So what do you say we do a little dramatic reading? Armchair Piper, how you doing, Ed? Good to see you, buddy. Stars just aligned because I see people talking about Jeremy Brett and his depression, which is a really sad story. I have an excellent book on that was sent to me by my good friend Doug Owen, called Bending the Lily? Willow? Read? Bending something. Bending the Lily, I think. Really good read. About his life and his battle with depression and his career as Sherlock Holmes. And I've been promising to pass that off to Armchair Piper Ed. Ed, we're going to make that happen before Thanksgiving, I promise. I'm sorry I've been such a lousy friend. But life has just been absolutely bonkers lately. I had a meeting today with my boss's boss. And he said, how's it going? And I said, are you kidding me? He said, well, is the work going well? I said, yeah, it's going well. There's just 10 times more of it than we usually have. Bending the Willow. Thank you, Doug. Sorry I couldn't remember that, but I'm almost done the first beer. You know how it is. It's a fantastic book. Three Friars is amazing, Ron. Really good stuff. And Jeffrey says Alien rocked. So I just got a note that I'm going to pass along from my buddy Greg Tunnel. Apparently someone has made a fake channel with his channel name and profile. He's reported it, but just beware of that, because knowing Greg, God only knows what that could lead to. So the reason I'm even looking at this is I'm getting out my dramatic reading here. I think you'll like this. We're going to read a lesser-known Edgar Allan Poe. Could have done The Raven, but The Raven's been a bit overdone, and I'm not very good at reading poetry. But I do love The Raven. I think Poe's use of language in that poem is... He was really good at choosing his words, and he was really good at sort of a lyrical use of words. And the line that I'm always drawn to in that poem is, the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain. And the way he uses the letter S in that, the silken, sad, uncertain, it grabs you, you know, really brings you in and gives you that sort of feeling of spookiness. Bill, that polka music seems to be an excellent tool. Armchair Piper and Mushroom Leg both have a limb in their names. That's a good one. Alliteration. That's exactly right, Richie. Relax Piper and hobbies. I've got one olive wood pipe that I've had for many years that I bought from Olive Wood Piper, our good friend Carl. And I cannot say that that pipe has any evidence of burning out. It seems to be lasting just as long as any briar pipe. As long as you treat it well, it'll be fine. Metallica is asking, what temperature do you prefer to store your tobaccos? Whatever the room upstairs is. I don't really worry about it too much as long as they're in a sealed jar. Don't sully my name with sultrous, salacious suggestions. Thank you, Phil. Quote the server 404. Good one, Yornik. All right, let's do this. Let's do this. I hope you guys enjoy this. Otherwise, I'm just going to be entertaining myself here. But I thought we would read what I think is an underrated Edgar Allan Poe tale, and that is The Telltale Heart. I don't know if Carl's still making pipes, Mark. I really don't know. He's active on Instagram, though. Let me just tamp this down so that I don't have to relight while I'm talking. And we will go. This will take about 15 minutes or so. And I will not be reading the comments while I read this because it'll break the theme. Should I turn off the lights? No, I'm not going to sit in my basement with the lights turned off. Sorry. All right. The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe. And this was written in... Where is it? This was written in 1843 by a man who clearly knew how to scare people. True, nervous and very dreadfully nervous I have been and am. But why will you say that I am mad? The disease had sharpened my senses, not destroyed, not dulled them, and above all, the sense of hearing was acute. I heard all things in heaven and in the earth. I heard many things in hell. How then am I mad? Hearken and observe how healthily and how calmly I can tell you the whole story. It is impossible to say how first the idea entered my brain. But once conceived, it haunted me day and night. Object there was none. Passion there was none. I loved the old man. He had never wronged me. He had never given me insult. For his gold I had no desire. I think it was his eye. Yes, it was this. One of his eyes resembled that of a vulture, a pale blue eye with a film over it. Whenever it fell upon me, my blood ran cold, and so by degree, very gradually, I made up my mind to take the life of the old man, and thus rid myself of the eye forever. Now this is the point you fancy me mad. Madmen know nothing. But you should have seen me. You should have seen how wisely I proceeded, and with what caution, with what foresight, with what dissimulation I went to work. I was never kinder to the old man than during the whole week before I killed him. And every night about midnight, I turned the latch of his door and opened it. Oh, so gently. And then when I had made an opening sufficient for my head, I put in a dark lantern, all closed so that no light shone out, and then I thrust in my head. Oh, you would have laughed to see how cunningly I thrust it in. I moved it slowly, very, very slowly, so that I might not disturb the old man's sleep. It took me an hour to place my whole head within the opening, so far that I could see him as he lay upon his bed. Ha! Would a madman have been so wise as this? And then when my head was well within the room, I undid the lantern cautiously. Oh, so cautiously. Cautiously, for the hinges creaked. I undid it just so much that a single thin ray fell upon the vulture eye. And this I did for 7 long nights, every night, just at midnight. But I found the eye was always closed, and so it was impossible to do the work. For it was not the old man who vexed me, but his evil eye. And every morning when the day broke, I went boldly into the chamber and spoke courageously to him, calling him by name in a hearty tone and inquiring how he had passed the night. So you see, he would have been a very profound old man indeed to suspect that every night, just at 12, I looked in upon him while he slept. Upon the 8th night, I was more than usually cautious in opening the door. A watch's minute hand moves more quickly than did mine. Never before that night had I felt the extent of my own power, of my sagacity. I could scarcely contain my feelings of triumph to think that there was an opening in the door little by little, and not even to dream of my secret deeds or thoughts. I fairly chuckled at the idea, and perhaps he heard me, for he moved on the bed suddenly as if startled. Now you may think that I drew back, but no. His room was black as pitch, with thick darkness, for the shutters were closed, fastened through fear of robbers. And so I knew that he could not see the opening of the door, and I kept pushing it on steadily, steadily. I had my hand in and was about to open the lantern, when my thumb slipped upon the tin fastening, and the old man sprang up in the bed, crying out, "Who's there?" I kept quiet and still and said nothing. For a whole hour I did not move a muscle. In the meantime I did not hear him lie down. He was still sitting up in the bed listening, just as I have done, night after night, hearkening to the death watches in the wall. Presently I heard a slight groan, and I knew it was the groan of mortal terror. It was not a groan of pain or of grief, or, oh no, it was the low and stifled sound that arises from the bottom of the soul when overcharged with awe. I knew the sound well. Many a night, just at midnight, when all the world slept, I was welled up from my own bosom, deepening with dreadful echo the terrors that distracted me. I say I knew it well. I knew what the old man felt, and I pitied him, although I chuckled at heart. I knew that he had been lying awake ever since the first slight noise, when he had turned in his bed. His fears had been ever since growing upon him. He had been trying to fancy them causeless, but could not. He had been saying to himself, "It's nothing but the wind in the chimney. It's only a mouse crossing the floor, or it's merely a cricket, which has made a single chirp." Yes, he had been trying to comfort himself with these suppositions, but he had found all in vain, because death, in approaching him, had stalked with his black shadow before him, and enveloped the victim, and it was mournful influence of the unperceived shadow that caused him to feel, although he neither saw nor heard, to feel the presence of my head within the room. When I had waited a long time, very patiently, without hearing him lie down, I resolved to open a very little, the crevice in the lantern. So I opened it. You can not imagine how stealthily, until at length a single dim ray, like the thread of the spider, shot from out of the crevice and fell upon the vulture eye. It was open, wide open, and I grew furious as I gazed upon it. I saw it with perfect distinctness, all a dull blue, with a hideous veil over it that chilled the very marrow in my bone, but I could see nothing else of the old man's face or person, for I had directed the ray, as if by instinct, precisely upon that damned spot. And now I have not told you what mistakes for madness is, but over acuteness of the senses. Now I say there came to my ears a low, dull, quick sound, such as a watch makes when enveloped in cotton. I knew that sound well. I knew it well, too. It was the beating of the old man's heart. It increased my fury as the beating of a drum stimulates the soldier into courage. But even yet I refrained, and I kept still. I scarcely breathed. I held the lantern motionless. I tried how steadily I could maintain the ray upon the eye. Meantime the hellish tattoo of my heart increased. It grew quicker and quicker and louder every instant. The old man's terror must have been extreme. It grew louder. I say louder every moment. Do you mark me well? I have told you that I am nervous, and so I am. And now at the dead hour of the night, amid the dreadful silence of that old house, so strange a noise as this excited me to uncontrollable terror. Yet for some minutes longer I refrained and stood still. But the beating grew louder and louder, and I thought the heart must burst. And now a new anxiety seized me. The sound would be heard by a neighbor. The old man's hour had come, and with a loud yell I threw open the lantern and leaped into the room. He shrieked at once only. In an instant I dragged him to the floor and pulled the heavy bed over him, and then I smiled gaily to find the deed so far done. But for many minutes the heart beat on with a muffled sound. This, however, did not vex me. It would not be heard through the wall, and at length it ceased. The old man was dead. I removed the bed and examined the corpse. Yes, he was stone dead, and I placed my hand upon the heart and held it there many minutes, and there was no pulsations. He was stone dead. His eye would trouble me no more. If you still think me mad, you will think me no longer when I describe the wise precautions I took for the concealment of the body. The night waned, and I worked hastily, but in silence. First of all, I dismembered the corpse. I cut off the head and the arms and the legs. And then I took up 3 planks from the flooring of the chamber and deposited it all between the scantlings. And then I replaced the boards so cleverly, so cunningly, that no human eye, not even his, could have detected anything wrong. There was nothing to wash out, no stain of any kind, no blood spot whatever. I had been too wary for that, and the tub had caught it all. When I made an end of these labors, it was 4 o'clock and still dark as midnight, as the bell sounded the hour. There came a knocking at the street door. I went down to open it with a light heart, for what had I now to fear? And there entered 3 men who introduced themselves with perfect suavity as officers of the police. A shriek had been heard by the neighbor during the night. Suspicion of foul play, he had been aroused, and information had been lodged at the police office, and they, the officers, had been deputed to search the premises. I smiled, for what had I to fear? I bade the gentlemen welcome. The shriek, I said, was my own, in a dream. The old man I mentioned was absent in the country, and I took my visitors all over the house, and I bade them search well. I led them at length to his chamber. I showed them his treasures, and secure and undisturbed in the enthusiasm of my confidence, I brought chairs into the room, and I desired them here to rest from their fatigue, while I myself, in the wild audacity of my perfect triumph, placed my own seat upon the very spot beneath which the repose the corpse of the victim. The officers were satisfied. My manner had convinced them. I was singularly at ease. They sat, and while I answered cheerily, they chattered of familiar things, but ere long I felt myself getting pale, and wished them gone. My head ached, and I fancied a ringing in my ears, but still they sat, still chatted. The ringing became more distinct, and it continued. It became more distinct, and I talked more freely to get rid of the feeling, but it continued and gained definitiveness, until at length I found that the noise was not within my ears. No doubt I now grew very pale, but I talked more fluently and with a heightened voice, yet the sound increased. And what could I do? It was a low, dull, quick sound, much such a sound as a watch makes when enveloped in cotton. I gasped for breath, and yet the officers heard it not. I talked more quickly, more vehemently, but the noise steadily increased. I arose and argued about trifles in a high key and with violent gesticulations, but the noise steadily increased. Why would they not be gone? I paced the floor to and fro with heavy strides, as if excited by the fury, by the observations of the men. But the noise steadily increased. Oh God, what could I do? I foamed, I raved, I swore. I swung the chair upon which I had been sitting and grated it upon the boards, but the noise arose over all and continually increased. It grew louder, 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 and still the men chatted pleasantly and smiled. Was it possible they heard it not? Almighty God, no, no, they heard it. They suspected. They knew. They were making a mockery of my horror. This I thought, and this I think, but anything was better than this agony. Anything was more tolerable than this derision. I could bear those hypocrite smiles no longer. I felt that I must scream or die, and now again, hark, louder, louder, louder. Villains, I shrieked. Dissemble no more. I admit the deed. Tear up the planks. Here, here is the beating of the hideous heart. And that was written by Edgar Allan Poe in January of 1843. I think it's an incredibly good example of a psychological thriller where it just builds and builds and builds, and Poe's use of language is just really fabulous. I hope you enjoyed that. Doug, without a doubt, Poe was a bit unhinged upstairs. It's a very sad story. I mean, he ultimately was found, I believe he died. He wasn't homeless, but he was living on the streets. Very much lost, very, very clearly had lost his mind. You're absolutely right, Flint Hill. It does a wonderful job of capturing that thought pattern and just how irrational it is, but yet seemingly rational to the killer. Bit light in the top story, indeed, Doug. Oh, thank you guys. I'm glad you enjoyed it. King in Yellow, Yornik. Yes, King in Yellow is an interesting. There's an interesting mythology around the King in Yellow, or the Yellow King. Was very much part of Lovecraft's work as well. And I was seriously considering doing a Lovecraft story tonight, but I couldn't find one that I thought would be short enough. He lost his beloved. He married his young cousin. I mean, there was all sorts of strange stuff going on, Mark. Ah, glad you guys enjoyed it, Step and Skip. You know, Doug, that's where I tend to keep my mind as well. As I mentioned, I'm down to like the last bit of this, and we only have 15 minutes to go, but I hope you guys will indulge me, because I do believe it's true that once you take these out of the fridge, you can't put them back in because they go bad. Will somebody please agree with me so I don't feel guilty? Too late. Oh, that foamed up. I wasn't supposed to foam up. I do love words. You know, it's. I've talked about this before, and we've talked a lot about Hemingway in the past. And the thing I love most about Hemingway is his ability to, with very few words, paint a very vivid image. And I think Poe did that as well, although he used more words. I mean, he was often criticized as being overly flowery and, you know, belaboring things. But when you really think about it, it it fits. It fits with the sort of gothic horror theme. There are some good pipe tobaccos in the old one, Bjorn. Yes, for sure. Thank you. I don't want to commit a party foul, Steph. Thank you much. Yes, Doug, it's the proximity to Cape May, New Jersey, and the famous lighthouse, and that prevents me from breaking the law. The Cats of Ulthar is a good short Lovecraft story. I don't actually know that one, Mark. I'll have to look at that. Sorry, I just kicked the camera there. I see folks. Oh, piping pastor. Temperature variations can affect the taste of beer. Yes, yes. Israel hit Iran. Really, and oh, that's not good. That is not good at all. Is that what you were referring to earlier, Gary? I'm not up on the news, so. You're right, Doug. I think Hemingway was actually very widely, very broadly read, or read broadly. There we go. But yeah, he wasn't the sort that would ever admit it. All right, Steph, you have a great evening and a fantastic weekend. Thank you for dropping in. It's always good to see you guys. And so see everyone tomorrow, because I'm assuming that means you're going to be doing your Saturday live stream, which I have successfully managed to miss for a good 6 months at least. I will do my best. It's good to see you too, Mark. Oh, you're saying it was good to see them? Oh, yes, it was good to see them. I hate when I do that. I was at a funeral once, and a person that I knew, an older woman, came walking towards me with her arms outstretched as if she was going to give me a hug. And I thought, and I had talked to this woman several times during the funeral. This was many years ago. And I thought, oh, she's coming to give me another hug. Poor old woman doesn't realize that she's already hugged me and said hello to me and everything. So I put my arms out, and as I'm doing this, I realize as she gets closer to me that she's actually directing this towards the people behind me. And it wasn't a big deal, but it just was embarrassing in the moment. So that's what I just did with Mark's comment to Step and Skip. It's interesting, Ron. I did not know about the poem Eleanor. You know, Poe used Lenore as actually several of his. I think he actually had a poem titled Lenore, and it's interesting. He used it as a sort of a metaphor for idealized love or lost love or something like that. And Lenore shows up in The Raven, but also I believe there was a poem specifically called Lenore. But yeah, I mean, it's not unthinkable that he. I don't know if plagiarize is the right word. You know, it's ideas float around and artists take hold of them, and unless it's a word for word transcription, I don't think plagiarize is the right word. Vincent Price's son doing a reading of The Raven? That would be good, Doug. Happy to play that part there, Tobacco Pipes International. Inspired, absolutely, Ron. That's a much better word, I think. I remember there was a case, and this was back when I was in high school. Someone was suing, I believe it was Paul McCartney, for plagiarism of uh, a melody or something, and that was a little hard to swallow. I mean, there are some cases where I think it's very obvious, and then other cases where not so much. My wife will put music on in the car if we're driving somewhere, and I do not listen to any modern music. She does, and I'll say, "Oh, that's exactly the melody from the song," and she'll say, "What are you talking about?" Because she doesn't know the song I'm talking about because she doesn't remember songs from like the '70s. And I'll pull it up on YouTube and play it for her, and she'll say, "Oh my goodness, that is exactly the same melody." Uh, and of course, I don't remember the song, so I can't tell you any details. But it happens quite a lot. And one example I do remember that actually there was a lawsuit about. Oh, it's George Harrison, Patrick? Okay. For My Sweet Lord, really? What was the song? Isabel, be good. Isabel wants to get in on the spookiness. Uh, Hunter S. Thompson stole Hemingway's elk antlers? Really, Flint Hill? That's pretty interesting. Haunted bookshop on the way. Good deal, Patrick. So it was Harrison. Several people were saying that. Okay. Do you know what the song was that they claimed it was stolen from? I'm just curious. Because the lawsuit I'm thinking of was a more recent one, and this was oh God, what's the name of the band? It's a colorful name. This is a band from the '90s, and the song was "I Only Want to Be with You." There's nothing I can do. I only want to be with you. It'll come to me. It was my wife's favorite group when we first met. I used to make fun of it because it was such a bad song. Hootie. Thank you, Mushroom Leg. It's not Hootie, it's Hootie. It was Hootie and something. Hootie and Blowfish. Yes. Hootie and the Blowfish. Thank you, Mushroom Leg. That's exactly what I'm thinking of. So Hootie and the Blowfish had this song, "I Only Want to Be with You." And they were sued by Bob Dylan because the melody was pretty much identical to Tangled Up in Blue. And I was much more a fan of Bob Dylan than I was Hootie and the Blowfish, so I kind of sided with Dylan on that. I don't know where that wound up. Uh, but God, Tangled Up in Blue is such a good song. Jeffrey Feinberg is telling me to drink. Does that mean you want me to end soon? I know we only have 5 minutes and I got a full glass here, so hey, Spookapalooza is gonna. It's not Spook. What did I call it? Spooktacular. The Spooktacular is gonna go extra hours. You know that. But if you got to be somewhere else, go right ahead. She's so fine. That's what he was sued for. Oh, I can see that. Yeah, not really. I mean, I can see the argument, but I don't think it's a very good argument that She's So Fine and My Sweet Lord are the same. I mean, I think Tangled Up in Blue and I Only Want to Be with You are a lot closer. 4 bars is okay. There's a Bob Dylan movie coming out. I didn't know about that. All right, Mark. I'll keep it rolling then. Yeah, I've got so both cans are empty, but I do have pretty much a full mug here. The original I Only Want to Be With You was Dusty Springfield in '64. Was that the same song, Doug? Or was it just the same song? Was it just the same title? But I do not know the '64 Dusty Springfield one at all. Ah, creator, thank you. Same title, different songs. Okay. Ron says Albert Pike was probably one of the most intelligent men of his time. You only have to attempt to read the Masonic book he wrote, Morals and Dogma, to get an idea of how complex his mind worked. I'm embarrassed to say, Ron, that I do not know who Albert Pike was, but I will look him up. So after that cultural note, I feel like we might be flying a little too high. We might be a little bit above our usual level. Furnace is coming on. Sorry. Gotta live with it. Yes, Doug, that is interesting. You cannot copyright song titles or book titles. Yes. So I wanted to mention my latest Netflix obsession. I've been watching. Richie says he could never hear the furnace, which means my filters are working well. I was a little bit worried tonight because I just did an upgrade. I didn't upgrade the Linux. So I'm on Linux Ubuntu, and I'm like one version behind right now. So I do have to do an update. But I updated all the other software today because it was begging me to do an update. And I was worried because sometimes that messes up the OBS filters. But I'm glad you can't hear that. Telltale Furnace, indeed, Yornik, indeed. Where was I going? My latest Netflix obsession. I have been watching a show, and I'm a little embarrassed to even bring this up, but it is so darn good that I feel like I have to share it with you. It's a show that's about 10 years old right now. And I avoided it like the plague because it was popular when it came out. And that's the way I am. I do not like, if things are popular, I ignore them. I'm difficult in that way. But there's a cartoon on Netflix, and I'm going to warn you, this is very, very much adult themed. It has some humor that makes me flat out uncomfortable. Some of the themes. And about 50% of the jokes go right over my head because I'm not a big popular culture guy. But it is so well done. It's called BoJack Horseman. And I'm almost embarrassed to say how much I enjoyed this show. It's funny, but at the same time, it's really, really sad. And it's a cartoon about a horse. And oddly enough, I'm really drawn into this thing. I don't know what that says about me psychologically, but if any of you have seen this show, I'd be interested to know. It's odd in that, so it's set in a world where horses and fish and turtles and everything else are just like humans. Like they interact with humans, they speak English, they speak language. Um, it's almost like they're another race rather than a different species. Yes, Mr. Peanut Butter. I love Mr. Peanut Butter. There's a there's a golden retriever in the show named Mr. Peanut Butter, and the character is hilarious because he's a human being that looks like a dog but has golden retriever like qualities is the best way I can explain it. It's just really well done. Just wanted to sing a few bars. Yes. Oh God, the Smother Brothers were amazing though. I'm not sure about a cat named Miss Jelly. There's a cat named Princess Caroline. I've only up to season 4 right now. But the thing I like about it is that it's really it's very dark and very introspective. And the main character, who's a horse, was the star of a sitcom in the 90s, and it was very popular and all that, but he never was able to do anything after that. And he's looking back on his life and realizing what a terrible person, horse he's been, and how many people he's hurt, and how everybody that he gets close to winds up getting hurt, and it's just really well done. Inside Job is one of those ones, Yorick, where I haven't yet let it die down enough to watch it because it was popular when it first came out. You met the Smothers Brothers, Ed. Fantastic. Oh, all the more reason I got to get out to see you, buddy, because I want to hear that story. Armchair Piper really does have the best stories. White Ash Piper Squared came in and I missed them. You love the backdrop. I'm glad you like it, White Ash. Relax Piper and Hobby says the sound is very gone bad. It might have been because the furnace was on. Is it okay now? Ah, the Halloween channel sounds are on Sirius XM and Radio Classic Star. Oh, fantastic, Michael. I'm looking forward to that. Ed, I'm going to try to get in touch this weekend. We'll work something out, buddy. I miss you. Yes, definitely give Ed a sub. Armchair Piper needs. Yeah. If you guys aren't watching Armchair Piper, you're missing out. Thank you, TPI. Good lives are something to celebrate, Armchair Piper. Tell you, this pipe, and I talked about this in my last Sunday video, so if you want more details, watch that. But this is one of those pipes that just smokes so well. It's I only smoke it once a year, but it's like I'm picking up a pipe that I smoke every week. Uh, and I set aside the pipe that I got from Phil recently that you guys have all seen to pick this one up because I usually keep um, the 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 new pipe. I keep that out for a while until I feel like it's broken in. And Phil's pipe was another example of that, where it really felt like an old friend as soon as I lit it up. And I just love pipes like that. So should I leave the backdrop up for Sunday's video? This is an exceptionally good beer, but I got to admit I'm feeling it a bit. Should probably check the alcohol content. Where did I put my glasses? Reality is a hologram. You're one of those guys, Nick. Oh my, it's 8.6%. That might explain it. On the side of the can, I don't know if you're going to be able to see that, it says, "It will swallow you whole." I probably should have read this before pouring a second can. Best paired with chicken, candy, and cheese. A Belgian beast, fruity and light. The complexity and character of Devil's Reach comes from robust Belgian yeast. Deceptively simple. Caution is demanded because before you know it, Devil's Reach has swallowed you whole. Yes, it has. It's a Belgian beast, according to the can. Easy drinking with fruity esters. Fruity esters? Really? That's odd. Yeah, if you guys haven't experienced Cape May Brewing Company, I have. This is probably the fourth of their beers that I've tried, and I really like them. I mean, even their IPAs, which I'm not an IPA fan, but I got to admit they did it right. It's got the right balance of hops. It's not overly hopped, and but it gives you that nice hoppy flavor. Mike from Briar Blues was in the live stream a few weeks ago, Relax Piper and Hoppies. But haven't heard much from him. I know he was in the auction that Simon did for Phil. The other day I was looking for my glasses and they were on my face, says Doug Owen. Yes. I've had them on the top of my head. I haven't yet had them on my face. Although I did have something happen. So these glasses, so I don't need glasses for distance since I had the cataract surgery. I just need them for reading. And these glasses I buy them on Amazon. They're like $10 a pair. They're progressive lenses and they're great and I can abuse them and everything else. I usually buy 4 pairs of them at a time. And I break them and I just get another pair out. They do break really easily. What usually happens is this part right up here breaks. So anyway, it broke one night and I set them aside and kind of forgot about it. And the next day I put them on in the morning and I'm like, man, I gotta get to the eye doctor. I'm really having trouble seeing. It took me several hours to realize that the lens was missing from the glasses. So Doug, I do appreciate it. 8% is approaching wine strength, yes. Yernick hasn't had beer in ages and he misses Hobgoblin. Well, go get some, for goodness sakes. I do need to get to the eye doctor because since I've had the cataract surgery, I've noticed. So it's been years since I had it, and I had an appointment scheduled for like May of 2020, and something happened in 2020 that made people not want to have appointments anymore. I don't want to talk about what that was, but they canceled my appointment. And, I was seeing them annually after I got the cataract surgery, and they never rescheduled, and I never rescheduled. So I haven't been to an eye doctor since 2020. And my vision is getting a little hazy. And apparently, they can clean the lenses they put in. They do like a laser zap of them or something. So I'm gonna have to schedule that soon. I just have fallen behind on so many things with the past 6 months or so being crazy. I went to cardiologist this week, just yesterday actually, and got a incredibly good report. And I don't know if you guys remember, I had a scare a while back where I thought I might not be able to smoke anymore and stuff. Um, I talked to the cardiologist about this, and she said the EKG that they did in your doctor's office, they probably just didn't hook the leads up properly. There you go. Doctor said you shouldn't have beer. Well, bourbon is an alternative here, Nick. No question about that. Marcelo A or Marcello A, good to see you. Thank you for joining us from Brazil, my friend. Haunted Piper, you're right about that to an extent. Doctors will find something wrong. There's no question about it. But I had a doctor save my life when I was diagnosed with cancer a few years ago. Caught it early. I'm cancer free now, and I'm very thankful for what that doctor did. So, yeah, it can be bad for your health, but it can also be life saving. Glad you're in, Mark. I hope, for goodness sakes, I hope someday we can get together and have a pipe, and maybe some wild turkey. That would be fun, or a good cigar. I'm up for any of it, Mark. There you go. And if you can't have a beer, get another doctor. So my cardiologist is the one that is most interested in me not smoking. And I had the conversation again this year. I see her every year, and she's been really good to me. I mean, she's one of the, the people that motivated me to lose weight and everything. And, I've really enjoyed having a relationship with this particular doctor. And every year I get the same thing. So you're still smoking pipes and cigars? Yes, I am. Are you interested in quitting? No, I'm not. Well, that's not good for your heart and your lungs and everything else. And we've got programs and on and on. And I look her in the eye and I say, in all honesty, that would create more stress in my life than I'm able to deal with right now. And she looks at me and says, fair enough, if you change your mind. We have to go through it. I think she's legally required to do it, and I'm legally required to respond in the way I do. George wants me to leave up the back. Okay, I will leave it up for Sunday, though. Ben Franklin was a wise man, Gary Edminster. I see it's 9:45. We're obviously going to 10 o'clock, like it or not. Um, I am feeling great, George. I really am. Yes, none of us are getting out of this world alive here. Thank you for the spoiler. Um, Haunted Piper is, oh gosh, I didn't want to open up a can of worms with the heart problems. It turns out I wasn't having heart problems, Haunted Piper. I went to the doctor because I was having some breathing problems and I was tired. And he decided to do an EKG. And when he did the EKG, which was done by his physician assistant type people, it came out really bizarrely bad. And he said to me, you know, looking at your EKG, and I'm quoting here, half your heart is not getting oxygen. You've obviously had an infarct, which is a heart attack. And we want you to get an echocardiogram. I immediately scheduled the echocardiogram, which was for about 2 weeks later. And during that 2 weeks, I was convinced I was dying. I was having palpitations. I was having pain, like pretty significant chest pain. I was having trouble sleeping because the pain was so bad. Now, I'm prone to panic attacks, have been since I was in college, but it turns out that's what was happening. I ultimately got the echocardiogram, and they said, you know, there's a little bit of sclerosis, but it's completely reasonable for your age. Your heart is healthy. And yeah, the EKG, they hooked up the leads wrong, is what it really comes down to. Gonna stick to him, Steve. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that, and those prayers mean a lot to me. Relax, Piper, and hobbies. You have a great weekend too, my friend. Life is sexually transmitted and always fatal. Oh, Flint Hill, I think you just made my night. That is fantastic. I'm coming, Elizabeth, indeed, Cole. And yes, Michael, it does seem like that's the doctor's mantra. And you know, you can't blame them because obviously those are good things. You know, losing weight is a good thing. Stopping, I mean, I will never argue that smoking is healthy. Um, I think the way I do it, it probably leads to less stress in my life, and that might be healthy. But yes, there's negatives to it too. So I understand why they do it, but yeah, if you're informed and you're willing to push back, it all works out fine. I don't know how they screwed it up, Michael. I really don't know. And I really like my doctor, my primary care doctor, and I think his staff is very good. Um, but to be honest, when they were doing it, I was a little concerned. There was one person that was training, and the other person was telling them what to do. And yeah, yeah, what are you gonna do? Mother Earth is a serial killer. How about that? TPI, yeah. Why was the first test so wrong? You know, I asked the doctor that after I got back the echocardiogram, I went back to the primary care doctor and, you know, he explained to me everything looked great. And I said, hey, why did this happen? Because I went through 2 weeks of hell, basically. And, you know, it's my fault because I overreacted to it. I had panic attacks and everything else. Stop smoking for 2 weeks, for goodness sakes. Um, so what happened? And his response really scared me. What he said was, and I like this guy. I trust him. He's been a great doctor to me, and I really almost don't want to tell you what he said, but I think it's important to say this. He said, well, you know, the truth is we when we put it into the computer, it told us that there was 50% of your heart that wasn't getting oxygen. So there you go. You know, it's computer error. That's artificial intelligence giving you your diagnosis. Haunted Piper gave up nicotine, alcohol, lost 135 pounds, ended up triggering a genetic heart condition. Now have high blood pressure, pacemaker, mechanical heart valve, and life on a blood thinner made from rat poison. Oh my goodness, Haunted Piper. Uh, you can't win, can you, buddy? I know Flint Hill. It seems like they know just enough to be dangerous. And you went out and bought a pipe, haunted piper? Good for you. There's an odd spot on the side of Porky's head in your sign off screen. What in the world are we talking about, Richie? Porky's head? Who's Porky? It's like a half pair of sunglasses. What are you talking about? Are you intentionally trying to confuse me there, Richie? Cole, that's a keeper. You want to keep that doctor. Porky Pig. Well, oh, are you talking about the end credits? Well, I can't look at it right now without actually going to the end credits. I still have a quarter mug here. I'm going to go to the end credit just so I can see the Porky Pig thing, and I'll be right back. Don't leave. This is not the end. That's his hat, Richie. I have no idea. I stole that image from Google image search. I have no idea. It's his hat, I guess. Richie's having a Poe moment. There you go, Doug. Well, Cole, I've told the story before where I was actually in the emergency room. This was back when I was going through the cancer thing and all that. And actually, I'm a little embarrassed to say this, but I had one of these panic attacks and wound up in the ER because of it. And a cardiologist comes in to talk to me, and my wife's there. And my wife she's funny. She doesn't mind me smoking, but every once in a while she gets in her mind that I'm going to kill myself with tobacco and that I should stop. It's a weird thing. It's not all the time, but every once in a while this flares up. And the cardiologist was there, and she said, he smokes, and is that okay? Should he be? And I think she thought she finally got it. She finally had the opportunity to prove me wrong. And the cardiologist looked at her and said, "Ma'am, I'm a cardiologist, and if you told me I could not have a cigar when I got home tonight, it would probably kill me." Gary says the Navy had him dead in 74, and they clearly were wrong, Gary, and thank goodness they were. Yes, Richie, it is a tiny hat. Absolutely, Mark. I don't know why anybody would inhale pipe tobacco. The skull above my left shoulder. Up there? This is hard to... that? That what you're talking about? Oh, Richie says nope. I have no idea what's in this backdrop. I didn't even look at it. I hung it up at like 20 minutes before the show. I was trying to hang it up. Put screws in the ceiling joists and hung binder clips from the screws and then clipped it in there. I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out, though. It's not too bad. And Bela here is actually sitting on, if you remember the vise that I have there, that swinging vise, I put a block of wood in it that would capture the bottom of Bela. So he is sitting on the vise right now as it's poking through the backdrop. You know, George, that's the truth. We are like dinosaurs today. Yanks up 2-1 over the Dodgers, bottom of the sixth. Thank you, Creator. You know, this World Series is a tough one for me. I hate rooting for the Yankees, but I really hate rooting for the Dodgers. Steve says pipe smoking has helped him calm down. I get that, Steve. I get that. There are times during the day when I'm at work where I just think to myself, good Lord, I wish I could put a pipe in my mouth right now. Not because I'm craving nicotine, but because it's stressful and I just want that relaxation. Ah, Ron, good old smoking pipes. I miss that. Yornik, are you asking how old I am? Absolutely, Michael. You're always stronger than any habit. And it's something I do worry about. You know, I don't want to be beholden to anything. You know, I don't want to be I don't want to ever be someone that has to smoke a pipe. I want it to be something that I do because I choose to. And I've thought a lot about this, like maybe giving it up for Lent, which I believe I could do because I've done it. You know, I've gone weeks without a pipe. I've had colds. I don't smoke when I have a cold, so I know I can do it. But the problem is I've got this, you know, and it's a weird thing where I've actually added a habit on top of a habit. You know, I sort of have to smoke a pipe because I have to do the YouTube videos. Ah, I get it, Yornik. Okay, keep waiting. Gotcha. Well, Mark, that's good. I mean, that's a healthy change. ASP is on Facebook, really? Is Steve running it, Ron? I really like Steve. Actually, there was a brief period where he tried to resurrect it as a website, and I was actually one of the moderators on that. But it just didn't really work out. Oh my goodness, we've passed the 10 o'clock point. ASP was alt.smokers.pipes from back in the day of Usenet news groups, Richie. A lot of you guys probably don't know what that means, but that's a good joke, Doug. Oldie but goodie. Armchair Piper quit for a whole day once and it was terrible. There you go. So if I gave up pipe smoking for Lent, would you guys still tune in every week? Because I'm curious. I know some of you have done it. Um, I'm just curious if I could do it. Okay, Ron. I don't remember Steve's last name, but he was the main moderator. Um, he was the guy that came up with the tagline, "Pipe smokers will rule the world if they don't run out of matches." All right, so some folks are saying they would show up if even if I don't smoke a pipe. Gary, why in the world are you mentioning Wayland Flowers and Madam? And the only connection I have to that is Hollywood Squares. I don't know that Wayland Flowers and Madam did anything outside of Hollywood Squares. Mark, I have no idea how to get Google to stop doing that. Oh, Doug, that is a big sacrifice indeed. Oh, Willie and Lester, yes. Thank you, Patrick. I do appreciate that. And we are gonna bring this to a close. I'm pretty much down to my last I'm not gonna be able to show you guys. Yeah, it's there. So oh, so many guys saying that highlight and stuff. I really do appreciate that. Armchair Piper, I promise you I will never vape. I can give you my solemn promise on that. Ah, the "do you smoke after sex" reference was a Wayland Flowers and Madams joke. Okay, Gary, I got it. I got it. Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed the Halloween Spooktacular. I certainly did. This is without a doubt the highlight of my week, and I really do look forward to it every week. So with that, I am going to finish up my second beer of the night, which, given it was an 8.6, I think, percent alcohol, I probably went a little bit overboard tonight. But hey, what are you going to do? Hope you enjoyed The Telltale Heart. I enjoyed reading it. And yeah, do something spooky for Halloween. Have some fun. If you got kids, introduce them to one of those old Universal movies. I really think that we need more young people to appreciate what true horror is all about. The slasher stuff is all well and good, but there's so much good stuff out there that doesn't rely on the blood and gore. So if you got kids, introduce them to something like that. Have a great Halloween. Enjoy the trick-or-treating and everything else. I sure hope that this is the last Friday before Halloween, because I didn't check the calendar, but I think it is. Anyway, I will be back Sunday with something probably far less spooky. We'll see how it goes. And I'll be back next Friday, of course, with another one of these things to do whatever the heck it is that we wind up doing. So with that, guys, I'm going to raise my glass for one last time, say goodbye to the fine Halloween mug. I'll probably drink coffee out of it on Sunday. And with that, have a great weekend, and I will see you all again very soon. Bye now.